so hot.
It's calling me like the rainbow. It's calling me like the rainbow. The rainbow.
So this is my video on the Scafell Sky Race, sort of what the past couple months of training have been leading towards. So yeah, my sister came with me and she managed to get a few shots here and there. And so yeah, I'm just going to give a run through of how it happened, sort of mixing in the video she took and then some real video too. So let's get into it. So first off, it was a really warm day for the UK. I think it was like 22 degrees, which definitely is for some tough running conditions. So yeah, the race started off heading up Harris and Stickle along a gradual climb which sort of steepened as you got closer to the top. The pace was actually quite fast from the start and the race strung out quite quickly. So hot. At the first summit, I was in 7th place, about 3 minutes back from the leader. From here was a nice, fun, sort of rocky descent down to Stickletarn, which I actually had the fastest split of the day in this section, so I moved up into 4th place, just over a minute back from the first place. So next we had a steep climb followed by a very runnable section up to High Raise, so there wasn't too much change in positions in this, where everyone sort of stayed roughly equal. Then we had a really fun steep descent down back into the valley, and then a long, flat, runnable section over a mix of road and trail. So I was actually a little worried about losing places in this section because, you know, I don't do much road running, so I sort of saw this as a bit of a weak point. But managed to hold my place and didn't lose too much time to anyone in this section. This is where it started to get really tough though. It was starting to get quite hot, so then we had a 630-meter climb up to Green Gable via the Windy Gap, which took about 50 minutes. So I was definitely starting to struggle at this point. I actually lost a couple of places in this climb, but then after this technical rocky contour around Great Gable to Styhead Pass played a bit more to my strengths, so I managed to move back into 4th again. So next was the toughest climb of the day, from Styhead Pass up to Scafell Pike, England's highest mountain. By about midday, I was starting to get really hot. So due to the heat, I hadn't really eaten as much as I would have liked, so I was definitely starting to feel a bit tired. So I took a gel at the start of the climb and then sort of tried to maintain a steady pace up it, but it was getting slower and slower the closer I got to the top. So I think this was definitely my toughest point of the race for me. I lost about 5 places, putting me back into 9th place, which was definitely not so good. Yeah, once we got to the summit, there was a nice breeze, which definitely helped to cool me down a bit. I managed to take on a couple of gels before moving on to the next section. So from the summit of Scafell Pike, we ran over towards Bowfell. This is one of the rockiest parts of the Lake District. It's just hopping from rock to rock and steep descents over quite loose rock as well. So this actually, I think this suited me reasonably well. I managed to close up time again and It was like just behind 8th place at the top of Bowfell. So from the summit of Bowfell, you actually have a really fun descent. It's called the Slab Descent, which is a couple hundred meters of bare rock. Thankfully it had been dry beforehand, so it was actually really fun to run down. You could really let loose. After this, we contoured around and then back onto the main descent path off Bowfell. And then, yeah, we ran back into the valley before we had a couple of kilometers on the road and trail to finish. So yeah, I finished in 8th place in 5 hours 44 minutes. But shout out to Spencer Shaw, who won the race in a really impressive time at 5 hours 3 minutes. In terms of how I thought the race went, I was actually quite happy with my performance, but I definitely thought I was a bit lacking on the longer sort of gradual climbs, which is definitely a weak point I could maybe improve on. I wasn't sure if this was due to maybe because of how hot it was in the day, or maybe I just wasn't used to that sort of sustained climbing for about an hour at a time. So yeah, I'm going to work on that before the next race, and hopefully we can improve our place even more. Yeah, that was my brief rundown of the race. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing for more. My next race will be the Pinnacle Ridge Extreme on July 10th, which is a really steep and technical race, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Thanks so much for watching, and here's a photo of me feeling very ill sitting in a stream at the end to cool down. So yeah, see you in the next one.